Hi, welcome to the Paige family homestead. Today is not a test, it's not a drill. We're out, totally out of sweetened condensed milk. Now for anybody who lives in town or has a corner store close by, so what? If you don't mind the expense, whip out and go buy it. But it's a little bit of a drive to go up the road, to go into town, to pay escalated prices for a small can of sweetened condensed milk. Andy wants to do his last bake for Christmas. So let's try and make this. Typically we make sweetened condensed milk with whole milk, I guess you call it. We call it homogenized. I don't have homogenized. I have 2%. So we're going to measure this out so that we get the exact measurement in the end result of what a full 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk would be. And that would be 2 1/4 cups of whole milk. We're using 2%. This is a test. So 2 1/4 cups. If you just want, say, a cup of it, you could use less, like maybe 2 cups, but I want for the full can. Now the sugar, we need 2/3 cups plus 1 tablespoon. So there's no heat at all. I'm just going to stir the sugar in, make sure it's dissolving and distributing nicely. Hey babe.
Hey.
Nicely throughout the milk. See what I do for you so you can do your Christmas baking?
Yeah, you do for me.
Now, if you don't let it dissolve fully before we put it to a very, very mild, low simmer, you're going to get crystals, and we want this to be exact like the canned condensed milk, nice and thick, and creamy, and there's no reason why we can't if we take the steps to make sure it's dissolved. Now it is going to be a little bit different because I'm not using homogenized / whole milk. I am using 2%, but it's going to be good enough. It's going to pass. It's going to be okay. That's what I keep telling you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. We'll get it. So I'm just going to keep stirring this, and then I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and stir it again and just to make sure. And then we're going to start the low simmer, guys. Not until I know for a fact that this is actually all diluted in there, because I want the best product at the end. It might be silly of me to show Andy that this can be done because he'll never want to buy it again. And it is a lot cheaper to make it yourself, guys. If you have the time, plan ahead. Did you know that when this is finished, it of course will be thicker. We're going to reduce it by half at such a low simmer that all you're going to see is foam coming around the edges of our heavy pan. Make sure it's a heavy pan. Once it's condensed and being reduced by half, which takes about 30 to 40 minutes, it can stay in a nice jar in your fridge for up to 6 months. I've never had one to test for 6 months, but that's what they say. And I can understand why. I mean, it is caked in sugar, so sugar is the preservative. So I'm just going to stop here, let this sit and dissolve. I'm not in a hurry. I want the best product I can get, right? So it's been about 10 minutes. I can feel there's no sugar anywhere. I can't feel any gritty. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to put on the heat. I'm going to turn it all the way down to low. I'm not trying to boil. I want this to be nice and slow. So what I'm going to look for, if I see bubbles, like, you know, burped bubbles, they pop up and burp out, too high. I don't know what I'm going to do. This is the first time I make this on gas. So I got it on low. All I'm looking for is a little bit of bubbling foam, if you will, around the sides, and maybe some steam coming off it, you know, burping out, but I don't want activity. I don't want to see violent activity. I just want this to be so low and slow. And when I see the ring of foam coming around, I'm going to start my time for about 30 to 40 minutes. I want this volume to reduce by half. So I just take a spoon, dunk it in. I have my watermark, so I'll know when it's down by half. And I'll just leave that here to dry. And it will, and it'll still have a little film on it, so I'll know. So when I see the little ring happening, I'll bring you in. So I forgot to tell you, it's at this point on, we're not going to touch it. We're not going to stir. We're not going to interrupt it. We're just going to leave it alone. The reason is the foam that's going to develop around the sides, you're going to see it could contain a few crystals of sugar or maybe scum. We'll see it as we go. That's all going to be taken off, but by stirring, we're reintroducing it into a final product, and we don't want that. We want this to be beautifully smooth. Okay, so I'm going to try and zoom in here. You can see we're getting a little bit of steam, and see the foam around the sides of the pan? No big bubbles. It's not boiling, and you can see it's getting a little bit of a film. I don't want to touch, but like right around here you can see there's a milkiness. Milkiness is milk. You can see it's starting to react. So I've got my heat down to low, and I'm going to leave it now for my 40 minutes. So it has cooked down by half. I don't know if you can see it. My original spoon is on the top and the line is about here, and my new one is halfway up there. I hope that shows. Is focusing. So there's no need to mark it. I mean, just save your spoon. Okay, so inside the pot, it looks pretty cool. You can see the foam. Let me just bring you in here. See if I can bring that. Here we go. There is foam, and I want to take that off because what that is little bits of crystals from the sugars or foam from the actual milk, and you'll get that with making evaporated milk as well. So I'm just going to go around my pot here very carefully, and I want to take that off. I want to take, just like when you're making jelly, you want to take as much of that off as possible. We don't want those impurities in our final product. Scoop them out. Run your spoon with water or drip it with water. Get those milk solids that are foaming out of your product. Doesn't take long, guys. Now, what we have is a little bit thicker than what it, or thinner than what it should be, because it's still hot. I have to let it cool. It's got that nice, almost beigey, caramelly color. I know somebody's looking at this part over here and going, "You forgot that." Okay, I think I got it all. Enough that it'll be okay for the next step. And I'll just go get my strainer and we'll be right back. Okay, so the straining. This is what's going to help it maintain its smooth, silky texture. And by doing that, look what we were able to take out. It's not what you want in there, right? So, rinsing that right away, that would be a nice milk solid mess. What we have is 1 1/3 cups, which is what you would find in your can of sweetened condensed milk. So I'm going to stick this, I'm going to leave it here to cool to room temperature, and I'm going to put it in the fridge, and I'll bring you back to show you the end product. There we have it, guys. 2% will work. I've done it with Homo before and it was better, but this will work. Now in Ontario, with us having our shutdowns coming up for 28 days, you got some holiday baking still to do for New Year's? Do it up. Ran out? Make your own. You don't think the company's invented it, right? They copied a recipe from grandma and great-grandma, and to make it more convenient for now the working mom to have it and not make it, they sell it. But it's so expensive. 2 ingredients, sugar and milk. Make it yourself. It's a great thing to know how to do. Another homesteading skill, guys. Back to basics. I just want to thank you for coming in and joining us in our home today. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. It helps us so much. Give us that thumbs up. Ring that bell. I don't hear a ding ding in the other room, so he can't hear me. That notifies you of any upcoming videos that we have. And don't forget to please comment below. We love to hear from you. Thanks again for joining us, and have a very Merry Christmas.